Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Fellow citizens, following the sequence of events, Uganda seems to be at political crossroads.
I'm not a servant of anybody.
Madam, I know the law.
As such, Alternative Digital brings you the Interface Show with retired Colonel Dr. Kiza Besuje.
Let's keep on the same page on Alternative Digitalk.
As he gives you the alternatives on the transition question, rule of law, human rights and freedom, youth inclusion in governance, economic stagnation, as he confirms.
I'll be always here Saturday from 10 a.m. in the morning. Be there.
Don't miss the live discussion on the Alternative Uganda, Digitalk TV Facebook pages, and the Alternative Uganda YouTube channel.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Our viewers, good morning and welcome. I welcome you from the Mighty Drive in the morning, which took place at 8 to 10. My name is Rampant Every Wednesday, as always, we are with Justice Kanyeihamba to dig deeper into the topical discussions that have definitely happened ever since we met. So that is always a space of 7 days between when we last met and today. There are lots of headlines that took place in these past 7 days, which we shall definitely dig deeper into with Justice Kanyeihamba to share his experiences and his wisdom in regards to how such issues should have been avoided or otherwise. But before we open our discussions, I will ask Justice Kanyeihamba to say hello to our viewers and then we shall proceed, sir.
Hello viewers, good morning. Very nice to be with you on this very nice day, but a very dark day for Uganda. If you read today's Monitor, Daily Monitor and the New Vision, what is happening in our country about our government is not only embarrassing, but it should be corrected. And if it is not corrected, really we are in big trouble. Thank you, Norman.
Okay, sir. Because the stories are very many, I will want to begin with what is not so fresh, but definitely it is as fresh. And this is in regards to Justice Elizabeth Chisache, whom the Judicial Service Commission, which you have so many occasions criticized for definitely being led by, in your view, a junior officer who is supposed to oversee his seniors. So this very week, they recommended that Justice Elizabeth Chisache be put aside, be dropped from the Supreme Court panel. What I mean, I want to quote Article 126, which establishes the judiciary, but in particular 128 that talks about the independence of the judiciary. The question now becomes, previously, you had said you had a dissent judgment from your colleagues, but also you went ahead to say that there is a practice where your colleagues must share. In fact, not must, I think should share their findings or ruling. Where did you get the practice in the first place? I think that is what will drive us into the discussion, because one of the reasons why they are at loggerheads with the Chief Justice is because of the dissent judgment in Honorable Chagulanyi's petition. That's when issues started.
Right. It is not a law, but a convention of the judiciary that where a case is being heard by a panel of judges, 3 or more, it is a very, very, very important. And it is also a sign that justice is not only being done, but should be seen to be done. That all the judges who are of the panel, whether they are 3, 5, or 9, or even 11, as it is possible in Uganda now, Court of Appeal, they must all know what each judge is going to say in the judgment, final judgments. Whether it's a dissenting judgment, whether it is supported by 2 or 4, and the rest are doing nothing. Everyone on the panel
Must know what the other colleague
must know what their colleagues are going to say. Moreover, you may not disagree with their decision, but you can say, you misspelled this word. You left a comma there. Because we don't want things which are defective to be made public. So even for just advising on the judgment, how it is worded, this word is wrong. I am going to give you a copy of my annual lecture. But I want you to read whether I made mistakes in it before we publish it. So it is essential, and in my opinion, imperative, that all the judges on the panel should know what each of them said or contributed to that judgment, whether she dissented or they dissented. So that I blame Justice. I thought she was called Esther. You say she's Elizabeth.
Elizabeth Chisache, Chatham.
Elizabeth.
Yes. Esther is different.
She was wrong to withhold her own opinions in her judgment from all the other judges.
Could it be mistrust? I mean,
no, I don't know the reason what she did. But that is not the only one she has dissented from against the others. There is the case where I sued the NRM and the President Museveni. By the way, yes, President Museveni is subject to the law, not above the law, as the Constitutional Court recently said. And by the way, in that case, the Chief Justice, Winnie Odoro, agreed with us that the judgment given by the Constitutional Court, in the case where we are defending the right to bail, which is in the interest of every Ugandan, the media, not you, the media have kept silent. And nobody asked them. This Kanyeihamba was defending everybody, including the journalists. Why have you kept quiet? And they not commented on the Chief Justice, Odoro Winnie, that the judgment the Constitutional Court gave is null and void. What kind of journalism do we have in Uganda? The Monitor is silent. The New Vision, of which I am co-owner, is silent. What kind of country are we living in today, where the rule of law, just the rule to the justice, the rule of law, have been rendered inoperative in the illegal coma, as patients go to a coma in hospital. They are put in the emergency unit, and all the experts are called to resuscitate them.
The intensive
in
care.
Uganda, we have nobody, apart from you and a few others, who are trying to revive the rule of law and the justice. All the other experts, people like so-called the general editor of Monitor, Kalinachi, the editor of New Vision, they are also in a coma. opinion-wise.
Okay,
It's like you have a motor accident, and you call an expert doctor to give them emergency treatment. The doctors themselves are knocked down by the car and in a coma also.
no one
That is
to
what
help
our
them.
journalists of the newspapers today. The media, social media is trying, and I must thank you people. But our newspapers went to sleep a long time ago. They are in a coma.
Okay, well,
So back to your
to
question.
Chisache.
Chisache, just Chisache was
Wrong.
in the wrong on that point. And the Chief Justice was right. But the Chief Justice was wrong also to confiscate
Yeah.
and block Justice Chisache's
Judgment.
because it was imperative in the interest of justice that the country should have had without blockage what she had to say about Chagulanyi's appointment, rather case. So both were wrong. Both the Chief Justice and Elizabeth,
So, and two wrongs don't make one right.
they don't make it work. Thank
Now,
you
if I
very
may
much.
ask you, because you have been, you've spent a lot of time at that temple of justice,
Yes.
Supreme Court. How, maybe you could share with the viewers, I mean, the practicability of the Chief Justice to access a fellow justice's chambers to an extent of, for lack of another word, stealing or holding someone's judgment. How possible is that?
That is wrong, and that's a polite way. In jurisprudence, the science of law and judicialism, that is unheard of. It is a crime for the Chief Justice
to sneak
to
into
block a judge from expressing his or her opinion. That I have never had in the whole Commonwealth. I don't know what happens in communist countries.
It goes back to your book in Uganda, or in the Pearl of Africa, where the unexpected.
Yeah, yeah, that really you are right. A happening like that is the unexpected in the Pearl of Africa. So let me tell you more, which is shocking. And this one applies even to the Bishop of Uganda, and I hope he will answer. He is listening. What is his name?
Kazimba Mugalu.
Mu?
Kazimba Mugalu.
Kazima Mugalu, the chief, the Archbishop of Kampala, Semwogerere Paul. You are disobeying the word of God. Both of you say you are working for God. Normally, I'll give you another book I have just written. It is not even published to newspapers, rather to bookshops, called Allah is God. I went personally to the Mufti of Uganda and served him with an affidavit for him to sign, saying, for the Court of Appeal to say President Museveni is above the law and the God is not only unconstitutional and illegal, but it is satanic against God. None have spoken except a bishop from Ankole, I forget his name, and our own Mufti here,
Sheikh Rubega.
Sheikh Rubega. They have condemned that judgment as unconstitutional and against God. But the Archbishop of Uganda, the Archbishop of Kampala, the Mufti of Uganda are silent. However, you recall when Olaro Otunu still then president of the Uganda UPC, when they were going to celebrate, to celebrate the anniversary of Mata, former Archbishop of Uganda, Janan Room, Museveni was expected at that service, but he was a bit late. And so, the Archbishop of Uganda then called Ntagali, shamefully from my own district, from Rubanda. He's originally from Rubanda. Stanley. He was celebrating some function in the cathedral. And then he heard people shouting, "The Museveni is arriving! Museveni is arriving!" He abandoned the service of God
and ran to
welcome President Museveni. And that's why Olaro Tunu wrote about it. At the time, our Archbishop Ntagali vehemently objected and said that Olaro Tunu was wrong. Until later, when we had to believe him, when he committed adultery. Archbishop of Uganda committing adultery. Museveni has never said anything about it. These are his friends, he says. So, what I am saying is that you read the article written by Derek Chiyonga, one of our deep searching journalists we have. He said when the Chief Justice of Uganda had the judgment against the petitioners, Kanyeihamba and Wabamunu, was read in court, and the judges knew Kanyeihamba was coming to hear the judgment of the court from the judges. You hear the judgment of the court from the judges. He said, since the judges ran away from Kanyeihamba and they never even read their judgment, that judgment is null and void and should be disregarded. That is the Chief Justice of Uganda. And the journalist, you would be asking him now, did you say that or you didn't? He will confirm that he did. And if he denies, you ask Derek Chiyonga.
Where did you get the...
Where did you get the thing that he denied?
If I may ask, again, in line with...
Can I finish on that one? The reason Mr. Derek Chiyonga criticized the Chief Justice is that the Chief Justice had said, in a case involving where the courts try civilians, the Court of Appeal had said that is illegal, and all the cases involving civilian in the military tribunal should be handed over to the registrar to distribute it in the courts. The Attorney General, whatever, appealed to the Court of Appeal. And the Court of Appeal had the appeal and reserved its judgment on a notified day. Then Derek asked the Chief Justice, why haven't you delivered that judgment? The Chief Justice said, we can't deliver judgment when one of the panelists died. I am waiting for the president to replace him. And we shall have to hear the case again, because every judgment must be heard by the members of the panel, and they must be present when that judgment is being paid. But you not you personally, but all the reporters. People who call them big reporters like Kalinachi are keeping quiet. Kalinachi, are you hearing me? Speak up or shut up.
But not both.
They are not saying either the Chief Justice is wrong to say all the judges must be present. All the judges who are the case must be present when they are reading their judgment. In our case,
No,
Kanyeihamba and Wavamuno was the Attorney General.
not even one judge was there.
Not one, even a single judge was there. Not only that, they said Museveni had one. When he was no longer a member of the, he was not a respondent anymore. I had even apologized him for withdrawing as a statesman. Ngonda Ntende, Elizabeth Musoke, Monica,
Even Madrama. I think
yes,
Madrama was
Madrama, all of them. By now, if they had any sense of justice, they should have tendered their resignation. That's why we were wrong. We were misled. I don't want to accuse them, the worst one, that they are corrupted.
Now, in a
But they are all, in Uganda, they are all keeping quiet. Since that delivery of the judgment, I've been calling, I have gone twice to Rubaga, to the residence of the Chief Justice, rather
Archbishop.
Archbishop. I have gone to Namirembe personally in this old chair to meet him. One of his guards said Muchiga. He talked to me in Ruchiga. Up to now,
No response.
those archbishops. I drove to the office of the Mufti of Uganda, and I met the Secretary General. He said, you are going to hear us in the media after this. I've had nothing. And I am going to revisit them again after this show. And they said, what happened? You believe Museveni is above the law and above God? That normally is why I say we no longer have justice in Uganda. We don't have the rule of law.
Okay.
They are in a coma,
Okay.
political coma.
I want to take you back to Justice Chisache's, because the viewers have interest and there's so many people in practice.
Yes.
Save for the practice, as you call it, where did it come from of sharing? Because if I may quote the very constitution about the independence of the judiciary, sabbatical paragraph 2 here is that no person or authority shall interfere with the courts or judicial officers. So in particular for me, I want to take Justice such as a judicial officer whose independence shouldn't be abused or interfered with.
I have already said it was wrong of the Chief Justice or anyone else to interfere. But I also have told you a convention that all the judges on the same panel
Should have
must circulate their judgments, whether they are supporting or dissenting, so that every judge knows what is happening.
A colleague
in
is
the court.
yet to.
Yes. So that is the reason.
Now, save for the Judicial Service Commission as a senior justice at a time. Is there any other organ, save for the Judicial Service Commission, especially, let's say, for eminent persons like you to advise in how, or rather on how the judiciary should really operate? Because
you can advise, but if your advice is unconstitutional or illegal, you
No one
don't
will
take it.
it's not.
Because we are soon going to discuss these people who stole
Shit.
the Karamoja
Relief.
Mabati. And I'm going to say something which will surprise them.
Now, As we close that very topical, that headline, if you were in the Judicial Service Commission, how could you have recommended?
If I was in what?
Judicial Service Commission, how could you have recommended? Because their recommendation is rather pinning one person.
They have a copy of my letter.
In regards to the same.
I wrote to them in relation to the Chief Justice
and
Sadachi. First, I wrote to the Chief Justice. I called him. I said, I want to see you urgently. And I was going to advise him. Don't bicker, don't quarrel with a judge of the Court of Appeal, or of the Court of Supreme Court, Chisaki, because you are the boss. You should be able to discipline her yourself, because the Chief Justice has additional powers to discipline judges. When I was the Justice of the Supreme Court, Wambuzi, in order to keep things nobody else knowing, he had what he used to call peer advice. If the judge misbehaved or did something wrong, he had a friend in the court called the peer. Said, Chisaki, please don't do this. Withdraw. Quietly, nobody else would know about it. Justice Wambuzi had what they call a panel, and I was one of them, of peers, distinguished, incorruptible other judges who can advise quietly the others. This matter should have been done in the same way, so that we don't put the judiciary into disrepute and the public controversy, which now it is. So I called the Chief Justice. You can ask his personal assistant. You can ask his secretary. I called on 2 occasions. I wanted to have a quiet word with the Chief Justice, because things in Uganda are going wrong. His secretary called him today. She said, I have told him he will call you when the time comes. I called his personal assistant. They are available with him. You called him. He said, I have informed the Chief Justice, and he said he will call you. When you are launching the evolution of constitutional government, or rather public law and the government, I invited him personally, and he said he was coming. He would have been the chief guest. So when they told me that he had gone somewhere on the same day, I consulted Wakana Rugunda, and he said, why don't you call your friend, the deputy, he was then Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Jacob Olanya. And he was so happy to preside, even though he was in the context with Kadaga for the speakership. And what he said, you were here, but it is also reproduced in the video you made and in the Kanyeihamba Foundation handbook. Nobody reads them. The reading culture has died in Uganda. I think last week I talked about it. So the Chief Justice, when he refused, I realized, I think the president appointed the wrong person to head the judiciary. He's not doing his work. He even ignores senior judges like Kanyeihamba. So I wrote to the Judicial Commission. I wrote it to them.
About this, about
him refusing and conflicting with Chisaki. Yeah. So I wrote it to the Judicial Service. It's headed by a judge, which also is wrong. You cannot have a chairman of the judiciary with a junior judge from the High Court to head a superior organ which should discipline the Chief Justice, judges of the Supreme Court, judges of the Court of Appeal. Museveni made a ghastly mistake by appointing a junior judicial officer to head such a big body as that one, as he was wrong to appoint a man who is cowardly, General Isoke, to head the Anti-Corruption Act. President Museveni, that's the one thing I blame you about.
So that
you appoint people because they are cadres. You believe wrongly that they are loyal to you and to Uganda. They are not. Get it today.
Than the competence.
Absolutely.
So now.
So what I said, ask the Chief Justice and Elizabeth Chisake to resign from the judiciary.
So they take their
because they are continued bickering in the public is undermining the authority of the judiciary and certainly the administration of justice. They have my letter.
I think there is a lot of sense in your recommendation, because if the Judicial Service Commission recommends that Elizabeth Chisache be set aside, I'm sure she must be having allies within. So imagine you let her go and you leave the Chief Justice. So most likely the conflicts are likely to stay. Because
But my main reason was the Chief Justice should have disciplined her internally.
So
we should never hear all this bickering and washing of the linen in the public. So for failure to do his duty, he should be retired now.
Both of them.
Yes. And those who are saying he should stay, some lawyers, they are corrupt. And therefore he allows them to represent people corruptly, to get bribes and huge payments. That's why they want him to stay. If you went to them, to their homes, all of them would say he is unsuitable to be Chief Justice. Thank you.
Okay, our viewers, we're going to break for just 1 minute and come back and definitely talk about these iron sheets now.
Okay.
The evil iron sheets, as one of the ministers,
evil, yes.
one of the ministers
Thank you.
said. We're coming back in just a few seconds.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Hello beautiful people, you're welcome to the Snap Talk with your girl Teddy Tenjo every Saturday right from 6 to 7.
Naku zino twajjirwa flat tami. Tukyayambalako ku ngoye obutukwata.
Wajana ku body shaming. Speak up. Gendo ba confronting. Obagambe ekyo kyemukola si kirungi.
Towerabira nti tuli wano ku the Alternative Digitalk. Mukwano gwange gwaliye. Topic kiki wandiyagadde twogereko. Is it about family?
Nekati ze tata wange amanyira nkola n'obuvunanyizibwa nyina bungi. Era agezaako n'anyamba yambako yanda.
Naye kumukubira kumubuuzaako. Noga mama we bali kunzaala.
Is it outside family? Is it society? Oh, could it be relationships?
Come and visit, call me. Simanyanga I miss you bichi. Especially embeera y'obudde si nnungi.
Naye n'omuntu akwagalira mu season yaba takwagala ze nkubuulira.
Just be commenting nga topic yona gyandiyagadde twogereko tujja kwa tujogera kwano ku the Alternative Digitalk ku share enganzi the Snap Talk. Are you craving for that special meal that will entice your taste buds and leave you with lasting thrilling memories? Look no further. Spice Island Bulenga has got your answer. Natural, fresh and delicious juice, the best meals. Don't miss our daily specials from Monday to Sunday. Pizza Wednesday, Saturday Pizza Bonanza, you buy one and take two. Come dine with us and feel the experience. We are located at Prime Shopping Center in Bulenga, Mitiana Road. For inquiries, call us on 0704111720. Spice Island, we treat your cravings.
alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk. The alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
It's both annoying and just surprising. And what he picked interest in was some bit of a headline here that minister removes the evil iron sheets off his roof. And maybe I'm going to briefly read here where part of the article says that the state minister for planning, Amos Lugolobi, has in a surprise move removed the iron sheets he had received from the office of the prime minister and used it to roof a shed for animals on his farm, calling them evil. The Ntenjeru North MP had reportedly received up to 600 iron sheets, said to be part of the material that the government procured through the office of the Prime Minister for vulnerable populations in Teso, in Karamoja, Teso, and northern Uganda, Luero Triangle, and Bunyoro sub-regions. What is interesting here is, I want to quote him, "I have realized that these iron sheets are evil and I no longer need them. Let me remove it so that I buy other iron sheets and re-roof my shed so that no one can lay claim that I owe them anything on my property," he said. After ordering workers to pluck off the sheets, heavily guarded security personnel cordoned off the farm and blocked access to it, with the minister saying he did not want strangers or journalists to access his premises.
Thank you very much. This is the power of Africa. The unexpected happens. I cannot believe that statement is made by a minister who knows what he's talking about. I think he's in the politics and the language, he's totally illiterate. Illiterate! I hesitate to accuse him that he's also corrupt. I don't have sufficient evidence. But he's certainly
illiterate,
uneducated, totally uneducated. I had a shed in my garden here for rabbits. Then my son, who doesn't like animals, chained, said, "Dad, you must remove that shed." Because my son usually gives me very sound advice, I agreed and demolished the shed. It was covered with mabati. When you remove mabati from a building, they are not as new as you got them.
Definitely.
One thing missing in the statement of this minister is that I will replace them.
Just remove them.
Yeah, you just remove, and then nobody will choose me. But you must replace them.
But you see,
You must buy an equivalent number before anybody can say, yeah, you have.
What is annoying about your, okay, these friends of NRM, for lack of another word, you are a minister, literally all this support is for the vulnerable, that you lack the sense to underline the word vulnerable, and you simply, so
I entirely agree.
vulnerable.
But I see the reason he has given, which we have all been given all along, that the NRM and its leadership only works for themselves, not for this country. Certainly this man has never heard of that he's appointed to serve the country called Uganda. He's there to serve himself and the President Museveni. Let me tell you what he says in that article. I read it this morning. He says, you know, it is very difficult in Uganda to be elected to parliament. The reason I put their goats and stole those Mabatis is I want a fourth term, like his boss. I have been in the parliament for 3 terms, and I want a fourth. Not for Uganda, not for people who are voting, but for himself. And in order to be elected, I need to give our people something. So I gave them, I built a shed with stolen Mabati in order to be elected for the first time. I really pray God that this man retires now. But certainly if he stands again, if you Ugandans elect him again, especially his constituency, you are evil yourselves.
So in addition,
anybody who votes for this man again to become an MP, you are evil.
Prof, we saw Harry.
So let me finish here. I used to have a farm in Entebbe. A foreigner called Sasu now has grabbed it and is building a residential estate and the land is zoned for agriculture. I have reported to the LC Council. They have warned him, but this general is okay, who I think is mainly incompetent, maybe not corrupt, has refused to stop that foreigner from continuing to disobey the local authority, the zoning regulations, the constitution of Uganda, and is supporting him to continue building. In another country where there is justice, the rule of law,
that wouldn't have him.
that foreigner, not only would he be stopped immediately, but he would be deported from Uganda. But here is a general, it's okay. When he wants to threaten me, he works from the parliament building in Kampala, not even in State Lodge, Nakasero. But when he wants to threaten me, he writes as if it is the president who has written to me. He sends the letter addressed from State House. He is chairman of the anti-corruption presidential coalition in Kampala. But I can show you the letters if you want. When he wants to threaten me so that I don't disclose his wrongdoing, his incompetence, and the corrupt ways, he names the letter from, it is from State House, to give the wrong impression that is the president who is writing. Museveni have sent him a letter by DHL, hoping these people who are corrupt will not interrupt him. I have talked to Mrs. Joanna Kategaya, who is senior presidential advisor to president for veteran affairs. She's told me these people are corrupt. That is your own senior presidential advisor saying you, these people, including the ones I have named, are corrupt. And she's going to help me, which I have been doing, not you. Because she knows the president says you are not doing much. But she said, I'm going to help you, Kanyeihamba, to stamp out corruption in this country. Justice, rather, Honorable Joanna Kategaya, the widow of my late friend, I thank you for that. Tomorrow, I know I am required elsewhere, but when I come back, I'm going to attend the memorial service in honor of my late friend Kategaya, which is at Nakasero Cathedral. I tell you, whether I go there or not, I'll make an effort to make an appearance. And thank you for having kept his name going.
Okay.
Joanna, may the Lord continue giving him blissful grace wherever he is.
Okay. About the very iron sheets, yesterday, a speaker, amongst what the rest of the words she said all these ministers should carry their crosses. But she also added that for her, she heard that these iron sheets had reached Bukedia, and she didn't ask for them. And remember, your friend Kasaija said the same words, and I remember you trying to call him. I don't even know whether you talked, because the previous show.
We talked.
What did he say about the iron sheets also? Because that's what your friend Kasaija also said, that he didn't ask for them. He was surprised to find the iron sheets in his fence.
Mr. President of Uganda, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, I have written you, tried to ring you many times, sent messages with your advisors and the envoys. You continue keeping quiet. One of your errors you have making to this country is not to answer the cries of your citizens, including me. That one I condemn you in the most strongest terms. You must tell your ministers and advisors that they are public officials and they have a duty to answer the letters and the queries of citizens, regardless of the content of the question. Your ministers no longer answer questions. You yourself have said in Runyachitara that you don't trust them, you don't even respect their advice. You said, my other name is Tibuhaburwa. The other day I was discussing with the elders, including ministers who have served before, who understand the Ruchiga and Runyankole and Runyachitara. And he said, you are keeping quiet. Wait, journalists continue calling your wife
First lady.
First lady. First lady. You know, once you praised my writing, Honorable Janet Museveni once wrote to me, and I have her letter here, in ink, not in print, in ink with her signature, saying, I am her best friend for not calling her First Lady. This controversy has been going on. So I eventually asked the elders of the Banyankole and the Bachiga and of Banyachitara. I said, what does First Lady mean? They were unanimous. It means omukazi wanje wenkundwakazi, my favorite wife.
Amongst many.
Among so many. President Hussein, tell this country that you have only one wife. Because for me, that's what I know. And tell the people whether the former ministers of yours, including very, very famous ones, are wrong in saying that in Ruchiga Runyankole, when you say the first lady, you mean the most favorite wife among my wives. Answer that! And those who usually report to me have the courage to ask the president, how many wives do you have? So, coming into your question.
You talked to Kasaija.
Kasaija talked to me. And he said, those Mabati were given to her by the Prime Minister's office. I kept quiet. Then this illiterate minister of today, what is his name?
Amos Rugorovi.
Amos Rugorovi. I have advised your voters not to vote for you again. If you are not corrupt, you are illiterate. And anybody to be an MP should have a genuine A-level qualification. Obviously, you can't have it. Nobody with O-level qualification in Uganda schools can speak the way you speak. You speak just like an illiterate villager who is corruptible.
So what?
Please, Mr. President, if this man stays minister, you are also semi-educated. He must go. The others, I want to ask.
There are so many.
Let me tell you, there are many, including my friends.
Kasai.
Yes, Kasaija.
Even
when I had that farm I'm talking about, which I leased a foreigner called Sasu Maskell. So thinking he was also going to do agriculture. He illegally turned it into a building estate. When I challenged him, that he had given the sublease to Mbazira, he denied through his lawyer. I have a letter here. You see, you journalists, you say you are reporters, you are researchers. Why don't you do what David Kachionga does? Do research. Nobody has approached me to say, show us that letter written by Honorable Janet Museveni. Nobody has come here, apart from the general, who is lying, to look at the lease. You can only give lease to a foreigner for not more than 90 years. I admit I gave him the lease to do that agriculture for 90 years. But in defending himself, he included other titles which he even doesn't know about. But the general foolishly believes they are correct. One of them, I wanted to mention it and find out the history of it, is plot 947. This is, what is it? Yeah, block 947, plot 266. General, you have said that belongs to this foreigner, Sasu. Please, come here, send your reporter, and I give him
proof.
The original title, saying it is nowhere where that foreigner has taken my land. And you can ask a lawyer called Byamujisha Ferdinand. He will confirm to you that that land, that title, is part of Kanyehamba's but it has nothing to do with what this man is writing about, and he doesn't own it. Why can't you do this information? And that includes you, my friend Norman. And at the next round, tell us who owns that land that Bazira has grabbed. Ask the Minister of Lands, Mayanja, Dr. Mayanja. He spoke in Uganda. Before you go today, I will give you a copy of what he stated in Bukede. Ask him, alert me when you are asking him, so that I can hear his answer. You see, it's no good talking about these things all the time, unless they have effect for the people of Uganda. You can talk until the cows come home, and if your talk is not making any impression, do some other business. Don't waste time that you are a journalist. That's why I like Chiyonga.
In line with the corrupt.
Yes.
What do you think informs the president? Because literally all these are the same names, the same cabinet, the same people. You mean he does not know their character and the reputation for him to?
I think
them.
Just as you are arriving, I was talking to senior counsel, senior advisor, Joanna Kategaya, whose late husband we are celebrating in a memory tomorrow at Nakasero Cathedral. She said, the president never gets these messages. When you get there, somebody grabs you before you reach the president, and he said, I'm the president's assistant, I'm citizen, he's busy, I'll give it to him. So President Museveni is innocent because he never received these complaints.
But he reads the newspapers. Now, for example, like his minister
here. That is your word.
Okay.
You see these things, you can ask the, what do they call them? The minister in the president's office. He's known. Ask him whether Kategaya is telling lies and whether Kanyeihamba is dreaming. And when the Chief Justice said, that's a judgment which said Kanyeihamba lost and Museveni won, is null and void. Ask him, what does the null and void mean? Are you still standing for it?
No.
From here, I'm telling you, I am going to places where I wrote to the people and have not answered them. Then I say, why haven't you answered that later? When you said you will.
In our remaining minutes, in the same line, in the fight in the fight against corruption.
Yes.
And I will quote today's New Vision, in particular, seeing the Inspectorate of Government, and Article 233 establishes the Leadership Code of Conduct. One wants to ask, because you were part of the...
And I signed my conduct, gave everything I own, including my bank.
Tell us, why did you people establish that? And I think...
We established it to show that ministers must be honest, transparent, and in order to shield them from corrupt influences, we say you must publicly, not publicly, declare to the IGG your wealth. You can ask the former Justice of the Supreme Court, Josam Tumwesije, who eventually became a judge of the Supreme Court, that Kanyeihamba submitted his list of
assets.
So, and if you ask me today, I will even tell you yourself on this media. I have nothing to hide. I got them legitimately. The government gave me what they called a house in the ministerial villages, a village.
Minister's village.
Yeah, I refused it. I said, in the future government,
they will ask you,
when you are minister and then government give me a house, it doesn't seem transparent. I rejected it. That's why I'm here.
How
I
many
came
of you
here.
do we have that reject such luxuries, for lack of another word? As in, if people steal iron sheets, now for you refuse the whole house. Is that
He has told you, in order to be elected my first term, I need to steal these Mabati. So the president, in order to get his, is this now the 7th term?
keeps
He
donating?
pays. In order to silence bishops and the Archbishop Mufti, he gives them very expensive cars free. In order, and I once said it in the part of Africa.
Unexpected.
Supposing you are us as a bishop, Archbishop, Semogiri, or as a Mufti, or Uganda. There are 2 candidates for the presidency, as they have been. Chiza Besigye and Museveni. Chiza Besigye doesn't have any money to give. He does not give supporters pajeros. Museveni does, and they accept it. The Archbishop of Kampala accepts. The Mufti of Uganda
Accept.
Grand Mufti, because we have another Mufti.
Supreme Mufti and
Yes,
you have 2 factions.
of Chibubi. He hasn't received those things. And you say, you asked the Archbishop, as a Christian, a man of God, there are 2 candidates. I can't make up my mind. Chiza Besigye
Who doesn't
and
give?
Museveni. Whom shall I vote for? These current bishops, the small galleries, the Muftis, Grand Mufti, the Archbishop of Uganda, would definitely recommend the vote Museveni.
So has this worked?
Because he has given them cars. Same Ogere was the late Archbishop. I forget what his name was.
Kizito.
Yes. He was given 500 million shillings for his charity. The current Archbishop, Semo Gerere, has praised Museveni
Yeah, I remember
as
in
the
his
best
reference.
leaders we have had. Although he knows, Semo Gerere,
At heart.
that Museveni has corrupted people.
Has this served its purpose, in your view?
That's right.
Has it served its purpose?
The what?
Because I want to, for example, begin with the IGG's office. It has 4 ladies. It's led by Betty Kamia, deputized by Anne Twinomugisha, then Dr. Patricia Achom Okiria as Deputy Inspector General, and Rose Eni Nakafero as Secretary to the IGG's office. Now, isn't this simply a ritual? Do you think your colleagues in government declare with utmost faith what they declare?
No, they don't. We, and Joseph Tumwesi will tell you, we investigated one big official in the government who claimed that he had 2 undeveloped plots, in Kampala. He declared those 2 undeveloped titles of land. But we knew other people told us
Had
different
more
things.
than-
Yes. So me and Katwe, I can tell you now, he's still alive. We went there and discovered that those 2 plots,
Which claimed were well developed.
they were CD highly developed executive houses, which were being rented by foreign embassies. And he was getting the rent in dollars. I also get rent in dollars because I accumulate money to buy tickets to go and see my family in the UK where they live. I can give you example. And nobody has warned me that is wrong. I wrote it to the then IGG, who was Monda,
Faith Monda.
that do retired judges
Someone was
still
lying.
declare their wills. He said, no, you are no longer under our jurisdiction. You don't have to. That was just, she's now just a Monda.
A quick one, I had this question for you in that very line.
No, but let me finish that point. The question you had asked was...
On whether
yes.
they declare...
Yes. So, Joseph then became a judge of the Supreme Court. And that man was never disciplined for concealing his ways. Joseph is my witness. He's still alive. Put a question to him.
So that answers that most of the people just do it as a ritual.
Yeah, as a ritual. And they hide the truth. They don't tell the truth.
One of the questions I had before we close is on whether the law can work retrospectively. If one is found to have declared false assets and the rest, can the law come back for such a person? Because you said when
it should, because he gave false information about himself. One of the reasons they appointed him is that he's honest.
Yeah.
So he gave false information. Therefore, he should.
So as long
in my opinion, he should not continue in that job.
So as long as it has been discovered that you lied previously,
yes,
even when you are retired, the law should come for...
Let me tell you two things. When I was Minister of Justice, before I became a judge was reported to us that he had lied, that he had got qualifications to do A level. Then the evidence showed that he hadn't, but he assumed, after he had failed, he assumed somebody's name. But eventually he got a degree in law,
the same name,
and he was a good judge. But when Wambuzi decided, he was the chairman of the Judicial Service Commission, as I told you, that he should no longer be a judge.
No matter how good.
No matter how good he was. And he was dismissed. That is where an officer of the government of Uganda, like Wambuzi, you act. That's why I'm saying journalists, follow up their reports, don't leave them there. Kadaga used to accuse Museveni of being a dictator. But when he made her IGG...
No, who? You mean Betty Kamya?
Betty Kamya. Yes, I'm talking about the IGG. She said he's the best president we ever had. Not only that, but she's under orders of Museveni to say, you recover all the stolen and embezzled properties, but don't mention their names. Is that how you fight corruption?
But now, Prof, at the end of it all, this has to be presided over by the president.
Yes.
But remember your friend, the president, when Betty Kamya advised that we should have lifestyle audit, the president said, don't leave my people, so as long as they steal and invest here. So in the event that he has recommended that so-and-so is a thief or has stolen lots of property, do you think there could be some action?
In Uganda, under the Constitution and international law, and the morality of our Christianity as a country, everybody must be accountable and pay this for the sins of his crimes. You cannot rule that out, even if you are the president of Uganda. If the president of Uganda rules that out, orders IGG not to disclose the names of the guilty, he himself has committed offense. And the Parliament of Uganda has the right to impeach him. It's in our constitution. They can impeach the president for crimes and misdemeanors he commits in office.
No.
That is what our law says.
Fine.
And nobody has or dare change it.
There is this confusion also. It's the same line about corruption and, of course, courts and the law. That there has been so many electoral petitions in court where people have been pulled out of parliament, but the law says as long as one has been found guilty of having bribed voters, such a person should be out of, should not contest for next 10 years. Can one challenge such a candidate that, look,
I think so.
But people go on
because
and become
one
nominated.
of the things we put in the constitution, which is still there, is if one is convicted of
vote buying and the
by what we call electoral malpractices, part of the court's duty is to declare him, disqualify him
for the next 10 years.
For the next 10 years. It is in the constitution.
But they,
therefore, every time somebody is convicted of electoral malpractice, the court should say you are also disqualified
for the next 10 years.
For the 10 years. So the court, that's why I'm saying we no longer have justice. Even in that one, which wouldn't even affect their own livelihood, the courts have failed.
They simply nullify the elections and say, you go back and...
They go back. And they all go back. And they do more corrupt malpractices, then they are elected, then they become honorable and untouchable.
Your closing remarks, and we shall leave here, Prof. You make a summary of all these corrupt...
We have been making criticisms, wonderful orations. I have cried twice publicly on the rule of law. I am urging reporters now, including you, Norman, journalists, that from now on, let us make sure what we preach, we practice. I have asked him, I wanted him to go now, but you people kept quiet until he himself read my book entitled The Defeat of President Museveni in the War Against Corruption. Then I sent a copy privately to him, knowing it will reach him. When he reached him, maybe he read it. That's why he called the meeting. President said, call the meeting as a result of my book. He called the meeting of Norbert Mark, his son, General Kainerugaba Muhoozi, in a meeting, and without mentioning Kanyeihamba, used my book to talk about his retirement and succession. Museveni has talked about it. It is in public newspapers. Who else has joined him? Okay. How many have joined me to say we agree with Kanyeihamba? You must go at the end of this term. That's one. And then you continue blaming Museveni. Blame yourselves. You have given me a minister now. What is his name?
Amos Rugorobi.
Sam Rugorobi.
Amos.
Yes. If he has a consciousness, he's a man of God. From what I have remarked, he should retire now. After all, he has got.
And iron sheets.
Okay. And iron sheets.
Our viewers, we are meeting at 7 p.m. today in the Afro-Caribbean. We are hosting a Guyanese MP by the names of Fulubes. She's an MP in Guyana, and that's at 7 p.m. today, Ugandan time, and it's going to be midday in Guyanese time. Catch you at 3 p.m.
But